Welcome to ForceProSports Laserforce Podcast with your host, Mr. Mischief.
Welcome everybody to ForceProSports. This is a podcast about Space Marines 5, Laserforce, laser tag. I'm your host, Mr. Mischief, extremely amateur laser tag sports analyst. Today I'm joined by none other than Sweets from Chula Vista, California. Welcome, Sweets.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. We did a quick intro. We're gonna just start talking because we both got a lot to say about the most recent tournament that you came out for, which was
Dun, da, da, da. Love the random draw.
I'm throwing it to you. Yeah, the random draw, dude.
Yeah.
Yep. Loveland just hosted a tournament. We tried out some crazy stuff. I suppose it's good to just summarize briefly. We've done random draws in the past, right? Can you explain what a random draw has been and maybe what this was intended to be?
I think the concept of the random draw is to randomly pull your positions, and then it creates chaos in the game. And then we have different formats that have created semi-fairness, semi-unfairness. Sometimes the teams are randomized, sometimes they've been pre-selected. I think this one was more oriented towards having fairness as a high aspect of the game, because typically we consider fairness as a more fun game when there's not a lot of blowouts. And so there was a strong emphasis before the tournament in building the teams and building the players so that way the teams would be semi-fair. And then the teams also matched positions, which also implemented fairness. So I think this was probably the most organized random draw we've done. But in my opinion, at least for me, that made it the most fun.
I think for some people, they associate random draw with the chaos. What are we doing? This is supposed to be chaotic. But then there's sticks in the mud like you and I who are yeah, but even matchups make the game more fun and make people want to come back and not hate themselves. So, yeah, I was pretty happy with this.
For sure. As a scene that has multiple sites closed down and trying to retain players, fun is key. So, if you're just if only 2 people are having fun because they're blowing out everyone else, then that's less fun than 12 people having fun.
So I'm going to go over some intro stuff so we can just get into the conversation here. So basically, a big part of this was we took a lot of time to try to rank players in a way that was fair, and the tournament happened. There was a first place team and there was a last place team, and there was a lot of different there was opinions. Things went right, things went wrong. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to share my screen here. I've got a little bit of a slideshow that we're going to navigate through, and we'll discuss as we go. So I'm just going to give a couple disclaimers right up front. We're going to talk about some rankings. I like to just kind of clear the air, talk about the elephant in the room. So just be aware that as we're talking, if you attended this tournament, your name might come up. We're going to be speaking about community rankings, personal rankings. Our hot takes about players are certainly going to come up. Please, be aware this is a very amateur sports analysis show, but it is a sports analysis show. And when I was thinking about doing this podcast episode with Sweets, part of me was thinking man, there's some awkward situations or things that didn't go right for some people that I kind of don't I want to try to avoid bringing up. And then I thought but everyone knows, and it's why we're here. And I think the best way to handle it is just to actually talk about it in a respectful and loving way. I got to see I did a poll with a bunch of rankings that we're going to talk about in a minute. I got to see the hot takes of 10 different people besides myself, and oh my gosh, it opened my perspective to the fact that people have some freaking crazy ideas about player talent. Some takes that I saw I was just what the hell are you thinking? and that being said, it goes to show, if I see that in other people, when I put out my opinions, there are certainly people who are Luke, what are you thinking? That's crazy. It really opened my mind to the truth. The hard truth is that you're not going to get everyone to agree on a lot of players. People have wacko ideas about rankings. And so take all this with a little bit of humor and a little bit of salt, a little grain of salt, just a little. I want to affirm that you as an individual are awesome if you're listening and you play in our community. Your skill level isn't fixed. something I was talking about in my making the rankings show at the very end. Like, people assume like if you're ranked low, we're saying like, yeah, you're low and you're always gonna be low and you're bad and you suck. No, anybody can become the top of this list. I mean, there's so many factors, but like, just know that like you can change, you can learn new skills and become a better player. So don't take this as a condemnation. Take anything we say as like a challenge to improve yourself. Let's be respectful as a community. Receive feedback as something to work on, not judgment. And if you can't handle hearing negative feedback about yourself, and I am one of those players, okay, we're going to talk some negative things about me and my performance and who I am as a player. If you can't handle that, maybe just don't watch this or wait until you're in a better space to watch it. That's all I'm going to say. Sweets, do you have anything you want to add to any of this?
Yeah, I think the two things that come up to my mind is like, one, it's a team game. So, like, sometimes if your team is suffering or something's going wrong, you're going to look worse just as a player because your team didn't do as well, or the position screwed you. Like in a random draw, the intention is to introduce chaos. And some people pulled medic every game, some people pull commander every game, and they're a main resupply player. So, like, with the randomness of a random draw, it doesn't reflect like necessarily your best skill as a player. And then also, like, everyone has bad tournaments and everyone has really good tournaments, and there's so many factors that play into that. Like, if you get ranked poorly going into this one or coming out of this one, it doesn't mean you suck forever. It just like, hey, you didn't perform as well and maybe there's some things to work on, and just like try to take positives from it, because realistically, like, as a competitive community, we're all trying to grow in skill at all the times. We're all working on becoming better. So if you didn't perform well here, you could perform well in the future. Just take learnings from this rather than just get frustrated.
Dude, honestly, I'd want to stop. Gosh, we're early, so I'm more willing to ramble. But as we get further to the end of time, I'm gonna have to be more focused. But like, you're a great example of that, Sweets. I think
Yeah.
in the last like 3-4 years, you've been really intentional about pushing your skill set and pushing yourself into uncomfortable positions to grow. We talk about that for just a second.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like honestly, I take this a lot from Kodama from Cayman. He used to be a pretty mid-ranked player at our site when we had a site, and I forgot the exact situation, so don't quote me on this. But like, he didn't get included on the A team for a tournament. He was like a sub, or he got placed on the B, something like that, and he was frustrated by that.
Mm-hmm.
And so he made it really intentional to like become a better player and ask people what he's doing wrong, go to tournaments, and obviously he's really good now. And so I think that kind of reflected on a lot of us of like, hey, you can improve, just put your mind to it. um I think I maybe took a little bit of a different track than he did, but I think in exposing myself to other players and playing on different teams outside of my local site, I gained a lot of knowledge from other play styles and other insights, and that helped improve a lot of me as a player, just like as a whole in general, rather than like just playing at home site over and over and over and over.
Mm-hmm. Love it. That's what we call a growth mindset. Get some, people. It's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Get some of that growth. All right, let's do it. Stat time. So this first section is about stats. So something that we're about to see. Part of what this first section is about is trying to figure out how accurate were the rankings objectively. Now, the truth is, there's no way that we can, like, there's no divine source that can objectively tell us what the rankings correctly are. So what I did was I polled 11 people, um, you Sweets, and everyone who was originally on the committee that made the rankings, and a bunch of other people that were at the tournament. And I said, okay, now the tournament's over, re-rank the players. And I got 11 total results back, and I averaged them out. And I think this is as close as we can get to what the new true rankings like would have been. Like, if we had clairvoyance before the tournament, this is what we should have been trying to aim for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I'll push back on that a little bit though, because at least when I was re-ranking based off of tournament performance, and that is heavily influenced by the success of your team. So the team that came in last, all those players dropped heavily in my rankings, versus the team that came first, they performed higher. So I think it's hard to reflect that in hindsight, because like I if I was ranking the players coming into this next tournament, like if we did this exact same thing next year, I don't think the stats I submitted would be my stats for the next tournament, because I don't think that player would perform as well as they did or as poor as they did if they were on a different team. So I disagree a little bit. Like, this is the perfect, what we should have had kind of thing.
Perfect, no, and that will make it even less perfect. But I'm not. We're already recording, so we're gonna have to roll with it.
No,
And that explains some of your what the hell takes that I saw when I looked at your rankings. But okay, so maybe I wasn't extremely clear on when I asked these people. Like, I was trying to go for more. If we were to redo the tournament right now, where would you put all the players if we were like redoing the pools and everything?
Okay.
But
yeah, mine was strictly tournament performance. I don't think Josiah is that low.
but you know what? You're only gonna weigh 1 out of 11. Like, you're not going to skew it crazy. Yeah. But we're gonna roll with it then. Just we're gonna roll with it for the sake of the argument and for actually talking about the topic. So, when we got our consensus back, here is what the new rankings came out to look like. I want to give you a second, Nolan. I'm just curious what you think, what you see in here.
Tucker was really hard to rank for me. So, like, I think he only played 2 games, or he played very few games, and then he was also represented by Bromley. And in the Bromley games that I saw, Bromley did amazing. So separating Joe out individually and placing him in a ranking here was really hard for me. Let's see.
Well, he's been around a long time. I did this as though we were going to, as soon as the tournament was over, like, okay, let's do it all again. So I added Joe in, so we had a full 36.
Gotcha. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what I'm seeing so far.
Does it feel...
I do think Rook, like, he was on my team, so maybe I'm biased. I thought he had an absolute stellar tournament. He was high in the penalty thing, so maybe that inflates some of his scores. But he had some super standout resupply games, super standout 3-hit games, and super standout scout games. So I feel like he's pretty low here. I feel like he should probably be bumped into the group 2. Bumping someone down, though, I think it would probably be Joe or Cody. I think both Sparks and Sabo had fantastic tournament. I'm super happy Selly got moved up to group 5. I feel like of the group 6 players, she played super cool. Mm-hmm. She was like calling out for her team, like trying hard in every game. She subbed for a bunch of teams. I think that's a deserved bump up for sure. Shadow dropped significantly. I think that's probably deserved. He had a super rough time adapting to this arena and adapting to the team's communication style. I think that team had a lot of like tilt between all of the players there, and I think that was frustrating him significantly, and he just did not perform. He had a couple games that he did, I think, fine on, but there was a couple like real dud games, so I think dropping him all the way down was really probably deserved. God, not moving Than up. Than or Firesword, both of them did super good for their tier. I'd probably put both of them into group 4 and probably bump Autumn and Metalface down. If
Interesting.
But yeah, well, I don't know. This seems pretty accurate. I think this is a pretty good summary, to be honest.
We can sit here and debate what we think all we want, but like this is what a consensus of 11 people thought after the tournament was over. So for the people that,
if this was presented for the next one, I think I'd agree with it.
Like, and the thing is, like you said, like, team matters a lot. So here's the next slide. Like, if we redid the draw exactly as it happened before, these would be the new teams if we were to just roll it all back again. And it's like, some of these teams would do better than others, and suddenly we would re-rank players again, and some people would go higher or lower, and we would keep adjusting until we were blue in the face. We could do it over and over and over again.
Hey, like, if I get to play with DK again, that sounds good to me.
So this is just for the thought experiment. This is what these would be kind of our attempt at redoing the teams trying to make them more even based on what we learned about the players over the week.
Yeah, I think this is pretty good. I don't know, what do you think? How do you feel? You said some of the takes were absolutely wild. Do you disagree with the consensus of the 12 or the 11 summaries?
I mean, I have my own disagreements. The cool thing about getting all those summaries is I was also able to tell, like everyone has players that they are higher than consensus on and lower than consensus are. So I was able to see like where I personally disagreed with the rankings. I am higher on the Rook than consensus. I probably would move him up higher. I don't quite know who would get bumped down to group 3. I suppose in this instance it would have to be Cody. I don't know. Put a gun to my head, and I am not sure because they just provide such
That's
different
hard.
things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, gosh, let's keep moving because I think just talking about how the tournament works, like we're going to get into that. What roles
Sure.
do we prioritize? Do we prioritize experience, maturity, ceiling? You know, I want to just show this one more too. So here's the old rankings versus the new consensus, and it shows how accurate basically it was. If this new one is the more accurate one. So if you are teal, we actually got that ranking 100% accurate. Nothing changed when we asked 11 new people. They stayed the same. I also took Joe out because we didn't originally rank Joe. So
Yeah.
just to keep it accurate. Having, what is it, like 82% only 1 to 2 spots off or less, like that feels pretty good, but
That's really good.
11.4% of players, we were 3 to 4 spots off, and 5.7 or 2 players, we were pretty about a tier off in ranking them.
I think it makes sense to me for the 5 to 6 off for those two players in particular. Liz, the last time a lot of us had seen her was like a month into playing laser tag, so I think ranking her lower was probably expected just due to not knowing how good Liz is and just heavily relying on the 11 people to rank her. And then Shadow, I mean, besides some of the Cali people, no one has played with him in many, many years, and he doesn't travel to tournaments, so he doesn't have arena experience. So it's really hard to know how someone's going to perform in a different arena where they don't travel, so you don't know their arena skill. I definitely think I didn't consider that as much when I was ranking him, of like unfamiliarity with playing in different arenas in general. But I think having those two 5 to 6 spots off makes sense.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I could call it a blunder on my part. I certainly had. I get to see Liz play every week. Gosh, you put me on the spot. It's like, to tell the truth in a loving way, Liz is an extremely talented player. She's
Yeah, I agree.
She's like, her mind is brilliant. She can outsmart people. I think she's legitimately one of the best scouts at the site. Like the way she plays it and adapts to her team and punishes 3 hits, insanely good. This is not to throw under the bus. Like she's a college student. She works really hard. Laser tag is not like, she's not always going 100%, and so like I just don't think I'd seen her play at that level for a minute. I think that's partially why I ranked her lower. But like you saw it in 2025 in Brisbane, like when she got on the scout position, she was really good for the team she was on. And she's been traveling. And it's like this does happen from player to player. Like sometimes they just don't whip it out like that until it's a tournament. And also some players I think sometimes play a little worse in tournaments. Like it's some of that, the human effect, as Ghost would call it. Like I'm not surprised that Liz is like, it's not that I never believed Liz couldn't end up here. It's like, phew, I whiffed that ranking. She proved me wrong, shoved it in my face. I deserve that. I admit it.
Yep. And like we were saying earlier, she just had a good tournament. She played really consistently, and her team did well, and works out.
And she was on a good team. That's part of it. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
She was in a place where she could shine. She drew a lot of scout. We'll talk about the teams individually, of course, but One I wanted to talk about was Dallin. Like we put Dallin at the low end of Group 1, and on consensus, he's better than all the Lovelanders by consensus. I found that interesting, but I also think if we look back over time, I think we were looking at things with a little bit of Loveland biased glasses from Internationals 2024 being our most recent tournament. Loveland got to build an A team and practice over and over and over again. And they only took one game off of us, but the fact that they even got that one game, and the fact that Caleb and Dallin beat us in Duos 23 and their team beat us in West Coast 22, like, Caleb and Dallin have been running circles around Loveland for a while, and this just shows me like we really need to, us as a site need to be humble enough to realize like we aren't playing up at that level right now, and we need to work on that.
Yeah, I think I agree most with that last statement. Like, I think Dallin especially had a really good day one. He was just absolutely killing it day one. But I will say I think him performing this well is due to an underperformance from both you and Josiah, who I personally feel like are better in that arena than Dallin is. But I think neither of you guys played up to the level that was expected of you guys, and Snuffles played up to his level and maybe even a bit above it in day one. That was really good play by him. So, yeah, I don't know. I think you guys are all in the same tier. That makes sense to me. But him being up here, yeah, I feel like it's you guys needing to step up a little bit to him.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I was going to say it here, like, rather than message them privately, I'm going to say in public, Caleb, Dallin, if either of you want to come on the show so I can interview you and try to learn from you, like learn how to be a better player from you. I know I'm your competition, but I would love to do that. Please let me know. I am humbly asking to shed your secrets to me live on the podcast. And I think it's the attitude we need to take. Like,
Caleb is a different beast for me. I feel like
dude.
I'm becoming a massive Caleb fan. He is incredible.
This was my favorite showing from him. He was amazing.
Yeah. After like our very first team meeting with my Nats team, was one of the topics that we discussed is what makes Caleb so good and how can we emulate it in any way. We need to extract as much Caleb as we can from Caleb and put that into our own games, because I think was there any of the 11 lists that did not list him as the number one player? I'd be surprised.
I think a few Loveland ones still have belief in Josiah for sure.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I think part of what Caleb brings, this tournament. He consistently, and I think there was a bad random draw he had, but he consistently not only performs well by himself, but he rallies a team around him that plays really well. I don't know if you saw the Utah practice games against Loveland, or even against you guys. But like Caleb has a way of elevating other players to make them play better, just because he creates a structure and a leadership that I don't think any of us in Loveland really emulate. Like that's something that I think makes him exceptional, not just as an individual. Like he elevates the team, kind of like how DK does it.
Yeah, I agree. Inside and outside of game, I think. Like DK is a bit more outside of game. I think Caleb's in-game presence is extremely powerful. Like I don't know. This is maybe going a little niche, but like Evo Mike's on his team, and there were so many times where I'm reffing their game, and he's like shot calling Evo Mike from across the arena, telling him what he wants him to do, and Evo's following him. And Evo, as a newer player, doesn't have the experience that Caleb does, and Caleb is able to help him along in a non-mean way to have him perform really well, and they won the tournament. That's Evo Mike's first place victory. And I think a large part of that is not just Caleb solo carrying, which he did some games, but also like, dragging's the wrong word there, but like helping his team along to perform individually themselves as well. I think that's a really strong presence in game that, most other players don't have that.
Absolutely. Yeah, we ought to sing his praises some more as we get to his team. I want to also, like, I ranked Dallin above me. I don't want him to get thrown to the wayside. And I think that's something that the community keeps doing is we'll talk about Caleb and then, like, Dallin's this afterthought. But, like, I put him above me. I think Dallin does something he does better than me is he plays at a higher tempo. He is willing to take bigger risks and punch hard. And like, he he's definitely one of the most high impact players I've seen. Like, he knows exactly where to put himself to create the most damage. Like, I could emulate trying to make more game changing decisions the way he does. I think he's, when something's going wrong, like Dallin will get to work and shift the game state back to giving his team momentum. Where I'm just a little too passive.
Yeah.
Like, I could definitely learn from that.
I think Dallin, he is a very risky player. He takes a ton of risks on any position that he's playing. But he's taking them in the appropriate situation that he still has a high percentage chance of it paying off. And it's like, if it pays off, it's extremely beneficial to the team. Like, he's jump shotting as medic from Fortress, and he's helping his team on second floor, and they're winning second floor because of it. But he is exposing himself on medic, or like he's pushing in as heavy constantly. I don't know. I feel like he has the opportunity to get taken advantage of sometimes, but more often than not, it's a beneficial play than detrimental.
Absolutely. Something I wanted to point out from all this, and I think the resupply talked about it a little bit. It's the idea that we got the first groups more right than the last groups. Like, some of the big swings came from like groups 4, 5, and 6, whereas we generally knew who the players in groups 1, 2, and 3 were in general, especially 1 and 2. But more variance, and I think this happens in previous random draws, like more variance tends to happen with these players down here, and I think it's partially because they're either growing so much more quickly than the players in group 1 and 2, or like we just don't know anything about them. We lack information.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. The large part is lack of information for me. Like, a lot of these players are practicing at their own site, and I think it's a lot easier to increase in skill when you are, for lack of a better word, bad. When you're new to the game or inexperienced or struggling, there's a lot you could learn and pick up on, so you can make massive improvements. Where at the top level, all your improvements are very minute niche. Like you're saying,
Yes.
like, oh, I want to emulate taking opportunities more. Like, that's a small thing. But Vulcan in this tournament, for example, like before, I think he was really unsure of himself in the game and made a lot of mistakes to do that. And he just seemed a lot more confident. And that's probably just from experience at this tournament. So he performed a lot better than the last time I'd seen him. But the last time I'd seen him was a month or two into him playing tag. So he has literally like 6 times the amount of experience at this point in time. So I think it's a lot just due to lack of knowledge and the big gaps that you could make in improving your skills.
Completely agree. One thing I love about the random draw in general is just how much the players in group 4, 5, and 6 really matter. I think frankly they matter more than the groups 1, 2, and 3 players for your team's success.
For sure.
Okay, I wanted to share this. So basically, I took these rankings, and like for every position a person was off from their final mark in all 10 of the rankings drafts that I did over those 2 months. I don't know if you saw on the top left, each one I labeled draft 1, draft 2. I tracked how accurate they got over time. Kind of with that overthinking idea. Like, was it helping or was it hurting as we kept going? So basically, let me lay out the timeline for you, and I'd be really curious of your thoughts because you were in that group chat. So put out the initial draft. We kind of had the initial discussions, and something that I noticed was like we didn't doubt the out of towners. A big one was like we moved Vulcan and Fire Sword out of group 6 right here. That was a big thing we did that improved the rankings. Right about here is when Loveland A beat Loveland Phoenix, and I put all the Loveland A players like up in group 1 and 2. And I think I had you down in group 3 during this time. And then y'all kind of talked me out of it, and I did some actual stat diving and got a little more of a, I don't know, I tried to be a little less biased. And then practice night got us an extra like 2.2 ranks of accuracy. So it got more accurate, basically. The longer we did it and everything, at the end of the day, we increased the rankings accuracy by about 20 ranks.
Okay, so the lower the number, the better the accuracy was.
This is inaccuracy. So we were about 63 total ranking swaps off from having things perfect.
I see.
If that makes sense.
Okay. Gotcha. I mean, it looks like you did a pretty good job planning it out and adjusting over time. I think it's really hard. The two things that made this really hard is some sites are having active practice and other sites are not.
Mm-hmm.
So, like making live adjustments, like you said with the level and A team, comparing them to players who are not actively practicing is that's hard because, like, why is the opinion changing so much? You know, I think that's hard. But also the practice night. For example, like I'll use Firesword. He was on my team. I played with him on practice night. I was like, man, he is not improved as much as I thought people said he improved. Like, I do not think this guy is very good. And then he played on my team and he kicked ass and he did super good. And I think that's due to like infamiliarity with the arena. So we're judging people on their practice night performance, and then he got way more experience with the arena. Yeah, exactly. So I think the practice night, it was helpful, but it's maybe a little inaccurate for people who don't have experience with the arena.
Yeah, something I was saying that feedback for me next time is like, don't make big swings on player opinion based on the practice night, but be willing to make little swings. Because like I took Firesword and was like, you suck, and I took Vulcan and was like, dude, Vulcan group 4 maybe, because he was just murdering everybody, and Vulcan's a really good commander. He'll talk about it, like that's part of his skill set. He rolled a bunch of commander games and was killing everybody. And it's not that he look up and down, like this is, you're comparing players to each other. So I'm not saying Vulcan is bad when I say I ranked him, I think, a little too high based on that practice night. I want to remind everyone he had this heavy game after the tournament where he beat the Fear Turkey on heavy. It was crazy. I mean, it was a team game, right? There's a lot of context to that. But Vulcan is a good 3-hit player. I over-adjusted him a little bit, I think, based on the practice night. Him and Firesword ended up being much more close than I thought from that practice night.
Yep. Also, like, the pool of practice night games is so few that, like, the sample size is so little. Making big swings off of that is just gonna be inaccurate by nature, I feel like. So I agree with you. I think just little adjustments from practice night. See if there's anything like egregiously wrong.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's keep going.
Okay. I really like that. I thought that chart was cool.
Thank you.
See that.
Oh, thank you. Okay, little study on self-bias. 10 out of the 11 players I interviewed have themselves above consensus. 1.64 slots higher on average. And Aiden is the only player humble enough to rank themselves lower than consensus. Good job, Odin's Fist. I'll call out people on good things. Otherwise, I'm keeping a lot of this anonymous. I think that's funny. Home site bias. So for everyone having I could figure out who your top 5 above consensus players and below consensus. So, on average, about 2 or 3 of everyone's favorite players are home site players, regardless of even if you were traveling from Utah or California and you had less players to choose from. You put your home site players, at least some of them, above consensus. And your least favorite players, on average, you would have about 1 home site player or less on average. The most biased player is me. All 5 of my top 5 favorite players are from Loveland. And the least biased is you, Nolan. Only 1 out of your 5 are from California. Any thoughts on these two funny stats?
If you asked me who's the most biased player, Luke, I would have guessed you. When we first saw your rankings and all the 11 players were above all the out-of-towners, or maybe not all, but a lot of them,
totally.
I was like,
I admit it.
Well, what is this man on? Like,
that's why I needed you. And like I said, like, people will look at mine and be like, what the hell, Luke? You're crazy. I need other people to balance me out.
But like you said, I mean, most people favor their own players just because they play with them, you know? So, like, I'm sure the Utah people, because they practice every week, have a pretty high opinion of the players that they're practicing with, because they're like, oh, they see the improvement, where we don't see the improvement of any player at any other site. Like Evo Mike's a player from my site, for example, that like has traveled a couple times now, and I see him improving, but everyone else just remembers him from the last time they played with him. So I feel like that applies to every player that you don't actively play against. You're just going to have a lower opinion of them because the last time you saw them, most of the time they're going to be worse than what they currently are.
Absolutely. Unless it's you, in which case you're not biased.
Apparently, I'm just a huge Caleb stan, and he's not my home side player. So.
You can't go much higher than 1, man.
There you go. Wait, is
Okay.
the one home site player who I had too high myself?
No. You want to know?
Okay. Yeah.
It was DK. You're a DK stan.
I'm a DK stan too. That's fair. He was on my team.
Yeah. Okay, we are going to talk about players who rose up high. I'm just going to show this. Feel free to give some comments. So these are the players who rose the most from their original rankings.
Can you explain the red, green, and yellow?
That's the team they're on. Turkey So Easy, Critical, and Than of the Band.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, the team that won the tournament has 4 representatives in here. I think that makes sense. And then Than the Band became 3rd. So, yeah. I mean, actually, everyone here is the top 3 teams. So I think that's a probably pretty big indicator of this. But, I mean, talking about the players individually, I think, like, for example, of this list, Sabo was so impressive to me. I don't think I've ever played with him before.
Dude, he's good.
But he's so good. He is so good at the game. And I remember I told Ender after day 1, because he was on Ender team, I was like, man, I don't think he's playing up to the B tier like position that he was given. I was so wrong. Like, I looked at the stats after, I was like, oh, maybe he is. And the next day I played against him, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, never mind. He's super good. So yeah, he's the one that stands out on this list to me. Disco had another great tournament playing against him.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think in the podcast I did with the Utah boys talking about Judah, I was like, man, he's ranked too high. He needs to drop down. But I don't know. He improved. He was on my team. He did really good. He listens super well in game. So we were just being really clear with our communication. And I think he capitalized off that a lot of the time. And we had a couple of things that we talked about after the game, like, hey, we need to fix this. And he did. So I think he was really locked in. And yeah, I think all these players, every single one on this list, I can see why they improved for sure. All of them had a good tournament.
Now, how much do you think it's because they were on a good team that they were rising in rankings, and how much is it that because they were good players, the teams did well?
That's a hard question. I think a lot of it is because they're on a good team. Like the teams that worked better together, the players are just going to have a better performance at the tournament. The teams that were struggling are going to have a worse performance at the tournament. So I think it's probably a large part because the team was doing good. I think also another factor that plays into this is someone that is ranked at the top of their group is only playing against players in their group. They're expected to beat those players. They're going to have a good tournament because they're going to beat the players that they're always going to be matched against the players that they are expected to be better than. So I don't remember exactly where all these people were placed, but I suspect a lot of them were near the top of their group, and so they got to slam on players that were slightly, at least, worse than them, and so that inflates your performance. Where someone like, I'll go back to Evo Mike, just got familiar with his ranking. He was at the bottom of his group, and so he's going to struggle because he's expected to lose against all the players in his group. So he won't have as standout of a performance, score-wise, game-wise, against the players in his ranking.
That's a good point.
So
yeah
I think Than was ranked top of his group, and like he had a number of games that he did really well. But I think if Than is, for example, I mean, this is an extreme example, but like placed against A-tier players in his position, he's going to get rocked. And so he's going to have a much rougher of a tournament. But he performed really well because he's against players that he's expected to beat.
Yeah, for sure. We talked about a bunch of these guys already. Want to just give props to Fire Sword. Definitely like massive improvement over the 3 days. Old Man Than had some things to say on the podcast, giving me shit, and I deserve it. Because I of how little I valued like people's resupply capacity. It's true. Like when Old Man Than was in a position where he could use his knowledge to support the team, whether resupply or even on scout, I think he provided a lot of unspoken value or unaccounted for value to his team. Absolutely.
I think that's a bit of an unfair criticism because the rankings were intended to be based solely on commander and heavy performance,
Hmm?
and
Well,
because
the
those are the two most
criticism
influential roles in the game, right?
the criticism is that it shouldn't have been just based on 3-hit. We should have accounted for
Ah,
resupply more. And like there was a game
that's all
where
right.
I was against Than in the band. Me and Snuffles heavy, and then Than was a resupply for Snuffles, and I played like 95% defense that game because I knew board flipping was gonna go like in their favor. I would
Yeah,
have to try to get Than down. He can reset me, and my resupply just don't have the knowledge of how to do that. So that was one
yeah,
example of like Than provided a really big advantage from the resupply.
100%.
Yeah. But yes, on 3-hit, I do think the ranking was more fair. Yeah. Should we go to the fallers? This is one where like, hey, if you're in this
Yeah.
section and I am in this section, just steal your ego. We're here to learn. We're here to grow. This is not to find your worth. Okay. Hey, look, it's all the bottom teams, mainly the bottom two teams.
Luke, you're on here. Oh no.
I'm on here, dude. I'm washed. So yeah,
Yeah.
look, I want to speak to Shadow Dagger real quick up here because like maybe people will not agree with this take, but I think Shadow Dagger has talent. I played a game with him on the practice night where he top scored his team on Scout, and he had like a 10K commander game in this tournament. Like, I think he has creative ideas of where to stand. I think he knows how to tag people, and he has the most games of all players in the U.S. in terms of Laserforce games. That counts for something. I think, like you said, it was just like the new arena, the structure. He hasn't played in tournaments before, and struggling to adapt to the team environment. Like people just dropped him down like a whole tier.
Well, I also think, like in discussing with Shadow
I
after,
think it's fair, but go ahead. Yeah,
yeah,
what do you got?
Shadow as a player is a very this sounds negative, but I don't mean it that way. Is a very one-dimensional player. He
Hmm.
has one play style that he's extremely good at, and that's when you're not in a random draw format. You could emphasize that play style in every game. Like he's a scout player or an ammo that will sit in the back and farm points from a distance. He doesn't
Hmm.
like to go in, or he can. He's just that's not his thing. He likes to sit back and farm points. And so playing an evasion here, he drops 6K on scout minimum every game. He's a very consistent scorer. But that being said, in this arena, not only is that a little bit harder of a playstyle to play there well, he's not pulling the position that plays that playstyle. If he's pulling heavy or pulling commander or pulling medic, you literally can't play that way in this arena
Hmm.
without being detrimental to your team. And so he's playing outside of his comfort zone, and I think that's a bit due to not traveling to other tournaments and not. But the format does hurt him for sure. I do think it's fair to drop him this much, but I don't even think he sees it as like a super negative. It's like, oh yeah, I just didn't get to play my game. I was forced to play ways that I'm not familiar with, and so I probably should have factored that in when doing some rankings as well, considering the random draw nature of the format.
Yeah, well, we're here to learn, you know.
Mm-hmm.
What else you noticed about this, or anything you want to comment on?
Um, I mean, there's 5 players here from that same team. I think they were tilted early due to a player dropping from their team, and then they were tilted due to in-game communications. And I mean, obviously, they forfeited their last match. I think there was a lot of just like frustration between that team. Um, I think honestly, maybe that was a bit of our fault when creating the pairings. I think we should have considered maybe not the highest priority, but like 2 or 3 like players that tilt shouldn't be paired with each other. I think both Azra and Rockwood are players that in game emotions get to them. If they're playing really well, they're gonna stomp. If they're not playing well, they're gonna get very frustrated. And I think pairing them together was probably a mistake because when the team started to have in-game communication issues, I think both of those players started to struggle with, especially in day one when everything was new and everyone's trying to like figure stuff out. Um, in hindsight, I think pairing them together was probably a poor idea. Um, but yeah, I think 4 or 5 people for being from that team is likely due to the frustration that they experienced early. Honestly, Luke, your team really surprised me. I thought you guys would do a lot better just based off the players in the team. And when I'm watching your guys' games, I didn't see a lot of like massive frustration or in-game mistakes and stuff like that. I think it's just poor circumstance a lot of the time just led to game losses. I don't think you guys as a team grew a lot over the week. Like I don't know what the team communication and stuff like that was outside of the game, but I think you guys played very. I don't know, like a lot of the issues were not fixed by the end of the week, and that I think that surprised me a lot from your team, which is 3 of the players on here.
I have thoughts about everything you just said.
All right.
First of all,
Same.
like, okay, I reckon I will obviously wear the badge right now that like Luke is biased towards Loveland players. Totally. I mean, I think it is really significant though that all 5 players from the house got bumped down in rankings, as though all 5 players weren't as skilled as we originally thought. And I just don't think that's. I think that's a little unfair. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to speak for what was going on with the team. Like I thought Azra and Rockwood would like get along. I thought they were both really chill people. like when I was putting them together, and I like them both individually as people. But I can kind of see how when we put all 5 of these players together, like some of the personalities just did not mix, and like they genuinely I don't think enjoyed playing together. I think you could have put these players onto different teams, like just swapped with someone in their group, and they wouldn't be here. I think
I
the case could be
fully
made.
agree.
I think the case could be made for pretty much everyone but Shadow Dagger, who we like explained the circumstance, like he just didn't adapt very well. But it's like when a team isn't willing to all go in on one plan or like be united, like you can't do much. That's just the truth, and I think we saw what like maybe we're taking this team performance and we're attributing it to everyone's individual skill level a little bit. Like I'm not saying it's all invalid, but like it is kind of crazy that all 5 of them went down in rankings. Like none of them were given a pass. Like maybe they all do bear the weight a little bit, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
As far as my team, will I don't know. I kind of want to talk about it more when we get to see all of our positions, but I would
Okay.
actually disagree. I think our team started out really rough. I think a number of us had. I think just every game had a story to it. I
Yeah.
certainly underperformed, especially on day 1, and I actually think our best day was day 3. We were so much more of a united unit by day 3. But like I can understand. I don't necessarily disagree that the 3 of us should have been moved down a little bit. Like a lot of us were kind of punching up in some of those matchups, but it's all right.
I'm surprised Blackout's on here. I thought he had a pretty good tournament. I was watching him a lot in games. He was just playing around where I was reffing, and
Hmm?
I don't know. I thought he had a really good tournament. So I'm surprised that he was overranked and dropped by 2 positions.
He did really well. He had a lot of heavy games for our team, and he was
Yeah,
awesome.
I agree.
In our one Elim game, he beat up Disco Monkey on heavy and kicked him downstairs, and he was a great heavy.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. I almost want to keep moving before we dive too much into the team specifically.
For sure. For sure.
I have some games for you. Ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Old Man Than. We have 11 opinions here. I want you to guess the range. What was the highest somebody ranked him, and what's the lowest someone ranked him?
Um. Okay, I'm gonna say 22
Mm-hmm.
to 29.
22 to
Maybe
29?
let's bump it to 20. 20 to 29.
20 to 29. And do you think out of towners or Lovelanders have a higher opinion of Old Man Than?
Out of towners.
Okay. You were right. Out of towners have him about 4 spots higher. The lowest opinion of him was middle of group 5, Highest opinion has him all the way up in Group 3.
Damn. 16's pretty high.
People value different things differently, and like he is a Group 2 or Group 3 resupply. Absolutely. And you could argue the communication and teamwork he brings on Scout is really good. But heavy weapons, I wouldn't put him that high, personally.
To clarify, Luke, in the re-ranking that people submitted, was that also supposed to be preferential towards Commander and Heavy?
No, I think I just said, okay, re-rank the players as though we're doing the tournament again.
Okay.
So, again, we're just playing. It's more of a game.
Yeah.
Sabo, high and low, Loveland or out of towner?
I'm gonna say 6 to 12, and Lovelander.
Highest ranking is 5.
16.
Someone put him in 16. It's
What?
People are crazy. I'm telling you.
Oh man, maybe I wasn't watching all his games, but I feel like the games I was watching, like he was doing real good.
But check this
I'm
out.
blown away.
We hate Sabo. Out of towners love him. 7.7 is his average, and we have him down literally in Group 3 on average.
Yeah.
So
okay, I mean, I can kind of
sorry,
see that.
Corbin,
Like,
please
maybe
don't betray
he had a
us.
standout performance at this tournament, so he's not typically like that in Loveland or something.
I definitely have him higher than consensus. He's good. He's very good.
Fair.
Corbin, I love you. I don't know about the rest of Loveland, but please don't leave us or betray us. We can't take it. And then I wanted to compare it just to show people when like you're getting butthurt about rankings or you're getting up in arms about rankings. Just know that there's a world out there where somebody believes that Old Man Than is at the same level as Sabo in the rankings for this tournament. Just want that out there.
Damn. That's
All right.
wild.
The Rook.
Oh,
High,
this is going to
low,
be contentious. I
Loveland
bet he
out
is
of
all.
10.
I'm going to give him a big range.
Okay.
I'm going to say 9 to 24.
9 to 24. Okay. You're not that far off. A little higher than that. Oh, and you didn't guess Loveland or out of town. I don't know if you would have guessed. But,
Oh, sorry. I probably would have said out of towners.
but everyone was
like-
pretty even on Eli, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, someone bumped him up all the way to Group 7, and someone has him all the way down in Group 4.
I feel like that's a little fair because he had a really variable tournament. Some games he like dropped like an insanely high ammo score, and he had some really good commander games. And then some games he was like just struggling in game, getting a lot of penalties and playing nervous. So I think depending on what games you refed and what games you watched, you'd have a very different opinion of Rook.
Yeah, 100%. One of my favorite moments that I think perfectly highlights the polarizing nature of the Rook is during his 9.5K ammo game. I'm reffing Chamber. I think DK is the other resupply, and Ben needs resupply. Ben is standing there yelling at the top of his lungs for Eli to come back and give doubles to the team. I think 2 people are standing there, and Eli is in Fortress literally downing the entire team, sending them down to the first floor. And the whole time, his whole team is screaming at him to come back and give resupplies.
So during that exact same play, I'm commander on Eli's team. I rush up from switchback, and I am actively resetting them. Eli runs in, shoots me down as a reset on the heavy while I was missiling the heavy, and I was like, bro. And I see Sabo, I forget what he was playing. Oh, he must have been commander because he was opposite me, laughing his ass off, running down the ramp because I was literally missiling them as my ammo resets me to get the reset on the heavy. I was like, bro, what are you doing? So yeah, I think his 9K was a little bit at the detriment of his team that game.
But then you're like, but it's 9K. What do you value? I think that's a huge question in terms of valuing the Rook. Like, do you want the player who's going to put up the high numbers, or do you want the player who's going to synergize with the team? And Eli can totally do that. He's shown he can do that, especially on a structured team. But Yeah, crazy. Fire
That was a
Sword.
fun game.
This will be our
Um,
last one of these ones, I think.
I feel like he's generally going to be above consensus. I feel like most people thought he played a lot better than what they're expecting. I think probably out of towners referenced him better. I'm going to say between 17 and 24.
17 and 24. All right. So you don't think anybody put him in Group 5?
No,
Okay.
I hope not.
Out of towners did have him higher, but holy cow, love
34.
yeah, someone literally put him at the bottom half of Group 6, and someone put him at the top half of Group 3. What are people tripping on, dude?
Wow, I mean, someone didn't watch his tournament. There's no shot he's playing that 34th place. No, that like there is no shot. That is crazy. Wow. All right. That's insane. I don't know.
It's crazy, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah. Level under average of 32 is pretty crazy too.
Yeah, it is. I'm definitely higher than that. Just want to defend myself. And then just to show, there's a world where Fire Sword would be above Rook in rankings. So I just feel a lot better about having opinions now because people have crazy opinions. I feel like I'm actually pretty balanced.
Apparently so. Yeah, man, I agreed with the consensus list, and the consensus list was made up of opinions that had Noah at 34th place. That is crazy.
That's well, at least you get a bunch of people, and then like these two things balance each other out, you know.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. How are you doing? I got one other game for you to play if you want to play it. I know we're also like we're hitting an hour here, and I know you got like lots of stuff to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely want to play it. I'm down. I'm getting a bit of lag issues. I don't know if that's on my end or your end.
I'm not getting on my end, but like in audio, can you hear me all right?
I can hear you just fine, and my camera and the screen share is fine, but you're like pausing for a couple seconds every once in a while.
Interesting.
So I don't know.
I'm sorry about that. You're gonna have to use your post-COVID video call skills and pretend like you can understand my lips moving.
As long as you're good on your end, then the video will be good for the upload. So that's fine for me. I can interpret.
For the people, Nolan, for the people.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So we're going to play a little game. Love Under versus Out of Town. I got 3 players here, and I want you to put them in order. What do you think the Love Unders have them as? And what do you think the Out of Towners have them ranked in order?
I think the Levellanders have them as shown on screen. So Fear Turkey first, Mischief second, Simply Okay third. I think the Outer Towners put Simply Okay above Mischief and kept Fear Turkey in first.
We Lovelanders have stayed true to this order for sure, but the Out of Towners have completely flipped it. Simply Okay actually had the highest opinion from all Out of Towners, and the Fear Turkey has dropped down to the third perceived best player.
Yeah, Josiah didn't have the best tournament. I think he was frustrated at a number of different factors, and I don't think he was playing to his best. Also, I feel like the random draw format, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I don't think the random draw format suits Josiah really well. I feel like he plays really good around a team that has like plans and everyone's working together and working on stuff. And the random draw just introduces so much chaos. I don't think that's beneficial to Josiah's play. So I could see why he dropped, but still surprised.
That's fair. Maybe it's not necessarily indicative that like people view this as this is the best player, but I don't know. I kind of view it that way. In a random draw, you don't get structure. It almost is like more dependent on individual skill. I don't think I'm better than Josiah, but I've always thought John had more talent than me. It's just putting him in the right situations and letting him ride. Like, I have no problem putting him above me. And he was definitely, he had the best team out of the 3 of us. The 3 Lovelanders coming in the bottom 3 spots. Like, John definitely looked the best, I thought.
Yeah, I think John has parts of his game that I consider better than you, but I think you're a better overall, like all around player, which I mean should benefit a random draw. And so maybe I'm wrong here, but I don't know. I think John, in my opinion, has like really high skill cap in like some parts of the game and struggles in other parts of the game.
Well, what you just said about Josiah, I think it applies even more to me. I frankly just suck without having structure. Something I definitely will own up to.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Rank these players for the Lovelanders versus the Out of Towners. Autumn, Old Man Than, and Metalface.
I think the Lovelanders are going to do the reverse of this. Metalface first, Than second, Autumn third. I think the Out of Towners will put Metalface, Autumn, Than. That's hard. I'm going to stick with that though.
Okay. Well, both everyone has Autumn kind of right in the middle of Metalface and Old Man Than, but the Out of Towners they're Metalface haters and Old Man Than stands, and Lovelanders really like Metalface, but we're not a fan of Than.
Apparently so.
I guess, yeah. And I bet part of that is like arena bias. Like I don't think Loveland is Than's strongest arena. He's not able to do certain play styles as well as Autumn or Metalface, but like you throw these three players in like Brisbane or Syracuse, I can definitely see how Than's value increases potentially above the other two. But personally, I like Metalface. I like Metalface the best, especially in Loveland. I'm biased because I got to play with him. He's great. I think he's got a lot of talent, and I think he's rapidly improving.
I think the same thing you said about Than could apply to Autumn. Like the running up ramps and running in general and being fast is not ideal for Autumn to play in, but she has one of the fastest reactions in the game. And I think that matters a lot less in Loveland than it would in like a Syracuse would. So
yeah, I could agree with that. Not to mention, like I think her communication is maybe the best out of all three of these. But
yeah.
Okay, one more. This one's really spicy. Azra, Disco Monkey, the Lizzler. Loveland versus Out of Town.
I think Loveland's going to put Azra, then Lizzler, then Disco Monkey. I think Out of Town is going to put Disco Monkey, then Lizzler, then Azra. I think Azra will be the flip player.
You were close.
Close, very close.
Turns out Lovelanders just we chronically underestimate Liz, and we do put Disco Monkey higher, but we put Azra at the top, and yeah, the Out of Towners. I mean, saw you on the podcast. You guys put Azra in F tier. You know, like it's crazy.
Hey, not me. I wasn't on that one. I called them crazy too. They put Cody in F tier too.
Yeah,
those guys are crazy.
Cody in F tier. I could see that. Yeah.
I mean, Cody. I think Loveland constantly. Nothing against Azra. I think Loveland really overrates Azra constantly, and I think it's really detrimental to her improving as a player. I think she's good. I don't think she's as high as Loveland consistently ranks her, and maybe they just see something different. But I don't know.
Yeah,
this is a very expected first and third.
Yeah, absolutely. It's frankly come up in a few different conversations, and I almost wanted to poke the bear by putting this one up here just to address it directly. Like, we do love Azra, absolutely. We see her maturity, her dedication to the game, her improvement, and frankly, some of the struggles where like her body's given out on her, and she's been like we've been excited to see her come into full form.
Yeah,
but like there is honest feedback, like things that she doesn't need to improve on. We've talked about like hit diff and point farming, I think is an area she needs to get some advice on and some mentoring on. She's a very objective, focused player. I think she can view the game sometimes as like a game about people standing in the correct spots rather than a game about people tagging each other with the lasers. And like if she can start implementing more just like racking up points in the moment to moment, I think she will begin to make it more public like what we all see, but totally get it. I think the feedback's been real, and like we need to view. I think we do view Liz highly. I think we're just also for once not underestimating Disco Monkey.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Disco's
man,
on a
good.
run, dude. He's good.
Dude, he's a badass.
Sure.
I love him, and he
Hey.
backs it up every tournament. He's getting better and better.
Yeah, I want to say like Disco and Liz have kind of opposite improvements where Disco over a long period of time has slowly taken one step at a time to improve. So his like graph is like this. It's like slowly going up over time where
Mhm.
Liz is like a spike. She's gained so many skills in such a short period of time.
Mhm.
So I still consider, and obviously both of these lists still consider Liz below Disco, especially just due to experience. But if she continues, or they both continue at their current slope, Liz will hit the Disco line really quickly.
Mm. Oh yeah, excited for Liz. Liz, don't hate us or abandon us either. We love you. Yeah. Okay. Final one. How many players in this tournament have a first name with a first letter that began past the letter N, like in O P Q R S T?
Real name or code name?
Real name.
Oh, geez. Past the letter N. I'm gonna say 5. 1. Sammy. Oh man,
The craziest stat of the tournament.
that is a crazy stat. Yeah, dude, I call people by their code name so often. I didn't even know Sabo's code name was or real name was Corbin.
Mhm.
I was like, "Who's this Corbin guy?" I don't know who you guys are talking about. Sabo's really cool though. And you're like, "Oh yeah." Now I'm like, "Oh, these are two different people," or the same person.
All right, let's get into the tournament. Ready?
Cool.
Thanks for
Yeah,
playing my
ready.
game. So here's the standings. Turkey So Easy, Critical, Than and the Band, all in the upper range with 40 plus points. Team Deck of Many Missiles with 30. The House with 12 and Darkness Rising 8. Can we just go team by team?
Yeah, send it.
All right,
Walk it down.
I'm gonna let you start. So I will just say I put everyone who played on the team, and I highlighted if there was like a statistical above average for that player on what positions they played. Obviously, with 2 scout chips, you need like 8 or more scout to be a statistical high in that one.
Sure. Yeah. This team. I mean, it's hard to talk about this team without talking about Caleb first. He had so many standout games in this tournament in all roles. His commander was really good. His heavy was really good. His medic was putting up insanely high scores. I don't remember too many of his scout games, but yeah, I feel like Caleb was the defining figure of this team for sure, both in terms of individual performance and team raising performance. And that kind of puts Odin to the wayside, but I think he also had a really good tournament. He had some great heavy and scout games. So I feel like him, without Odin being there as like kind of the secondary, the backup, the glue holding the whole team together, when Caleb was going off and popping off, then the team would have really struggled otherwise. I'd never met Nami Swan before. I think they're really good at acknowledging that they're a new player and listening to direction. And so when someone said something, Nami was like, "All right, you got it. I'll go do that." And I think that really helped the team. Like, there was not a lot of butting heads in this team. In watching this team,
No.
they had a lot of follower players, and the follower players were listening to both the experience of Caleb and Odin, and I guess a bit Disco too, but also the local Loveland experience of Liz. And Liz was doing a fantastic job calming in the game, just giving a lot of communication, and the team was playing off around that. So I think like synergy-wise is probably why they won this tournament. There's not a lot of butting heads, and a lot of people were just able to play off of each other due to the in-game communication being pretty stellar on this team.
Yeah, would totally agree. Obviously, Caleb, like having the leadership and having a lot of medic, you ended up hearing him shouting commands to the team, kind of like imitating DK a little bit, the way that he will command the team from the back line, but also putting up like 6K medic games. Just he can't sit in the back corner. Like, he has to be involved. It's just part of his play style. Odin's Fist drawing mostly one hit all tournament. Um,
Yeah.
Still contributing like on 3 hit. Like it felt like every game I watched them, Odin's Fist was just making the back line streamlined. Just creating a lot of synchronicity,
Yeah.
playing off of their teammates, having that built-in synergy with them, and Disco Monkey, who drew a lot of 3 hit. He was rarely resupply. Like there was almost always some combination where Slaughtermelon, Disco Monkey, and Odin's Fist were in a position to lead and command the team and work together. I think that helped a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. I agree. I think just synergy wise, it worked really well.
Totally. And like, yeah, I think like you said, Ebo Mike and Nami Swan, not just being willing to listen and work hard. They never really dragged the team down.
Yeah. 100%.
I love Ebo Mike. He's a very fun personality. Always shows up, has fun, and is learning. And like he felt like his team, I think, wasn't like he was dragging his team down, but I never saw that from him, especially just being willing to play around what his team needed.
I think Evo has really high expectations of himself, and especially playing in an arena that you're not as familiar with, players that you're not as familiar with, you're just naturally going to play a little bit under your performance level until you have a lot of experience underneath your belt. So I think he was just hard on himself of like, I'm letting my team down. But against the players in his tier, he did pretty good. So
He was punching up all week.
yeah, he had a pretty solid tournament.
For sure.
No medic games is kind of crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. No medic games for him. And I don't know, maybe like I would think Scout is probably Liz's best role. So it's really cool that she got 8 games of Scout.
I fully agree with that.
Really synergizing with everybody. She can play a mean heavy, but I know the pressure can be a lot sometimes. She was in a really comfortable spot to fully break out and show her stuff this tournament. So like I would say that even though Caleb was medic, like getting Caleb on medic was not necessarily bad for the team and the way this team was structured. I think they had pretty good roles. I think that helped a lot.
Yeah, the pulls for this team was definitely in their favor. I think also Caleb getting the commander games early really put their spirits high because he had such dominant back-to-back commander games that they're like, man, we have such a good player on our team. We could just play around this guy and win the game. So they had a lot of like team confidence in game.
Yeah. Everyone should learn from this, like just the way that the team united around like common leadership and being willing to be humble and listen to each other and take feedback. I didn't hear any infighting. They worked really well together in game. Spirits kept high. Like that really matters. It impacts the way players play. It impacts the way that teams synergize.
Yeah, for sure.
So, any final thoughts on Turkey So Easy?
No, I think we covered it a bit earlier too. But yeah, I think that this is just an example of how a team is going to succeed in a random draw. Keeping the heads cool, working together, and understanding that not everyone's going to play perfect every game, but that's okay because you're matched against a player of your similar skill level. So just playing consistently.
Absolutely. Team Critical, your team, second place. Judoku, Rook, Firesword, Sweets, Death Knight, and Raiden GL. What were your thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts because it's my team. Do you want to go first in this one? You want me to just go for it?
Sure, I can sneak in real quick.
Yeah.
Let's see. I do think good pulls. DK was talking on the podcast how he got 2 3-hit games. And with him being at the bottom of the group 6, that was kind of like, if it swung the other way, he would have been at supposedly a disadvantage. I really think he can keep up with everyone on Commander, but I know Heavy isn't his favorite. DK's not a joke. Like I think he would do better than he thinks at fighting us. Those of us in Group 1 on those 3-hit rolls, but he was in his total comfort zone. I just heard him shouting from the back line, being an on-the-field leader, off-the-field tactician all week long. And again, the team really united. A lot of really good personalities that like cared and didn't create drama. I would absolutely comment on you like being a player that I think just improves every time I see you right now, especially on the offensive roles. Like, hey, I don't think you did bad on heavy. I don't think you performed at the top of your group in heavy, but I think that you absolutely held your ground on heavy. And when you were commander or scout, like you pulled weight, you pulled major weight. You had like a 13K game against Bradley Commander in one of our matchups. Like, that's no joke. You have become quite the offensive powerhouse player. And I heard what you said about wanting a commander tournament. I'm excited to see how you do in Syracuse. So you getting commander 6 times and Rook getting commander 5 times, I think having over half your games with those two players on commander, I think definitely helped a lot. Getting Judah heavy in group 4 5 times and Fire Sword in group 5 heavy 5 times, I think that was pretty nice. Like, you had a lot of favorable 3-hit situations. I don't know. This team, you said, communicated really well. Totally agree with that. Like, it was really fun to see the way you all rallied around DK's communication, and we're all just really loud and played clean, quality SM5. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I think obviously I'm going to speak with bias here. I think our team had the best communication in the tournament from day one. I think just all these players are pretty loud, active caller players in the game. So we're just filling the air with information constantly, and then we're all listening, which is a secondary skill that you could say as much as you want, but if you don't listen to the other communication being given and play off of it, then it's just kind of like useless buzz in the air. And our players were really like, we made a focus on like, hey guys, we need to listen to each other in addition to just yelling constantly. And we had a couple games, especially early, where we weren't doing that, and then we picked up on it really quickly. Where I think by the end we were an absolute powerhouse in terms of communications because we were just playing off of each other super well. We did have some pretty favorable pulls, especially in day 3. I pulled a lot of commander. DK's defensive scout is one of the best there. We have a lot of aggro players, and so I was worried we'd have some struggles in the back line and some really strong front line. But DK kept pulling a backline position, ammo and scout. I mean, every game but 5 games of the tournament, he was ammo or scout. So he's almost single-handedly able to hold that back line together and have a lot of influence there. Where, and in doing that, it means the other A-ranked player is put on ammo or scout on the opposite team, and I don't think maybe anyone in the tournament has as much influence on the defensive role as DK does with the scout and ammo position. So he was holding our back line almost solely with the pulls of this tournament, which was excellent.
I could see
Fire Sword, I think, really overperformed what I was expecting from him. As I said earlier, I thought he was not going to do super well, and I saw him get on my team. I was like, all right, we'll do our best. And then he pulled, like, I think it was 2 or 3 back-to-back heavy games, and he just killed it in all 3 of them. And that gave him a huge confidence boost, and he was really just having a great time with that. But outside of the game, we made it like a point to have team meetings where all of us would sit there and like air our grievances and just focus on like, hey guys, we can't talk about how we individually played in that game because we're not going to be playing the same position in the next game. We should just talk about like overall how we could improve as a team going forward the next game. So like large scale communication, large scale like map movement, and yeah, it really worked together. Eli had a bit of an issue with the penalty system, and so we're like, all right, what's the best way to address this as a team, and like not blaming him of like, Eli, you're messing up, don't do that. It was like, all right, how should we adjust our gameplay to make sure that you're not cheating, but also you're still a big influence in the game. You can't just like sit there, clip your gun, and stand in a corner kind of thing. So I was really happy with how everyone on the team performed. And talking about Raiden, like, I don't know. I had a really low opinion of Raiden coming into the tournament, like because the last time I played with him, I think he just super struggled. But he was listening, he was communicating, he was doing his like pretty darn good on both 3-hit rolls. He pulled a lot of medic near the end there, especially, which I think he was a bit frustrated by. But in general, I think he performed pretty well against the F-tier players, and he was really confident against the other F-tier players that he can perform well against them, which he did. The team was great.
Absolutely. I don't want to sleep on Raiden. In the very final, in like the finals game where he was heavy against Selly and Than and the band's team, Raiden was kicking ass. He was very aggressive, but disciplined. He broke through a bunch of times without help from a nuke and was
Mm-hmm.
helping keep them all pinned down. Like, he has really solid fundamentals as a player and good communication.
Yeah.
I was definitely someone who was happy to have him at the top of that group 6 and was even very willing to put him in group 5. It was definitely a question by the end of that discussion. But yeah, he does get slept on. I'm really thankful that Judah and Rook got to play on this team. It seemed like a really positive experience for them, and I thank you for, yeah, like when the penalties came up, like that you guys didn't have a blaming mentality but a team mentality. I hope they can carry that with them.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is a bit of redemption for me and Judah too. We played together on teams before and got absolutely body slammed. So I think we had like a little bit of a pre-existing synergy together, and we emphasized that in this tournament, which was fun. It was fun to have a good tournament with Judah rather than running around getting blasted.
Absolutely. Okay. Than in the band. Celebi, Old Man Than, Chaser, Sabo, Ender, Snuffles. What do you got?
God, this team was it. All of their lineups were scary. I'm really happy we were able to pull it off against them in the end in the quote unquote finals match for second and third place. Because every time I'd hear like what positions they got, I'm like, oh, that's gonna be a hard team to beat. Oh, that's gonna be a hard team to beat. They just had a lot of players that I think are really good. I think every player on this team I have a pretty high opinion of, except for Selly going in. I didn't know who that was. And then coming out of it, I was like, okay, she's good too. So, like, I don't know. The whole team's good. And so any role swap they're getting, I do think they got a little bit screwed over at the end. Snuffles getting, I think it was medic twice or medic ammo or something like that. He had a really standout tournament early on, and then he wasn't able to show that against us. And so we had a larger influence there. Like I was saying, like on the defensive role, DK outperformed the other A-rank players, but on the offensive role, Snuffles was having, we obviously ranked him number 2 in the tournament because of how good he was doing there. So I think we would have struggled a lot more if Snuffles got an aggro position. So, yeah, I think they got a bit unlucky with the pulls in the end there, but again, a pretty solid team with all their players really outstanding. And I don't know, Than gets a lot of slander. I think a lot of people are low on Than randomly. They're like, he's old, therefore he sucks. And like, I don't know. I feel like, you know, even on the heavy commander games, like he was putting his mark on the game. And then, like, as you said, his experience in the backline is also pretty solid. Like, he's not the best player there, but people underrate Than a lot, I think.
Especially those Lovelanders.
Yeah.
And if it's any, if just to give more credit to Than, he only pulled resupply 1 out of 4 games in this tournament. He was mostly on the field, having to put his mark out there. And Commander was like what he pulled above average. I remember seeing him drop like an 11K Commander game.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, absolutely. It sounds insulting to put him in like group 5, but we're always like, okay, but who's in group 4 that we have to drop down? And certainly some people like in the new ranking system were like getting dropped down there, but yeah, he left his mark. He definitely, like, he was a leader on this team, a uniting force. This team was interesting because this felt like kind of like a little more wild in terms of like the personalities and like the youth on the team, but everyone was playing very mature and giving it their all. I thought Sabo played great. I thought Snuffles was heavily impacting the game at every position. Than played mostly on the field roles, and he did well. So that should definitely serve to show how much value he brings. I was surprised with... Go ahead.
Sorry, I thought you were done. You can continue.
I'm never done. Never done talking about tag. What do you think about Than?
Yeah, I don't know. Than's scout, I don't know. Like, actually, I'd say the same thing about Than and Ender, where I think their scout is pretty middling, but both of them have really strong defensive and a pretty, like maybe not a lot of experience for Than on the 3 hits in this arena, but I think he performed pretty well in it. And same thing with Ender. And Ender pulling a lot of Scout here, and Than got a little bit more Commander, but maybe just a bit of unlucky pulls for them as well, rather than drawing them on Ammo and Medic, because I think those are their best roles for both of those players in this arena.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was really fun to see this team. I think it just played with a lot of energy. They had a lot of like a good mix. Like I feel like Sabo and Snuffles are both pretty aggressive, and they put up big points wherever they go. But Chaser and Than, like Chaser is a very steady, teamwork oriented player, and I think he provided a lot of balance, especially pulling heavy so often. And Selly getting to play heavy 5 times in the group 6, I think definitely was a benefit for them, because she was one of the more dominant heavies in that group.
More aggressive too. For sure.
And yeah, absolutely. Always there with the nuke timings. It was cool to see her just taking notes from people, learning about the game. Very cool.
Ooh, actually, one more comment. I think also this team suffered a bit from exhaustion. I think they played really, really good day 1. I think day 3 is Selly was subbing for so many games. She was completely exhausted. Yeah. I know Ender, I was rooming with him, and both him and I were feeling the lack of sleep because we were working in the mornings and just general exhaustion. I think over half this team started to get a little sloppy in day 3, started to bleed a little more points, put a little less pressure. So I think they started to dip a little bit by the end. So a little bit of not spreading out the effort.
I'm gonna give honor points then to Than and the band for having the grace to let Selly, like to allow that player to be subbing for another team, even though it was her choice, but just like supporting that.
For sure.
Because she was exhausted. Like you could definitely see it, having to play that many games back to back to back to back. Crazy. She's a champ. Team Deck of Many Missiles, 30 points. Carson, Autumn, Vulcan, Beans, the Babe, Simply Okay, and Abramatized for 1 day.
The Abramatized day. Dude, when I was looking at the stats at the tournament, Carson had some standout stats. Like, I was like, what the heck? Like, I think both Commander and Heavy, he had, like, really high MVP games. Like...
He was the number 1 Heavy.
Yeah, extremely. Yeah, with his 1 Heavy game. I don't know. I feel like he was pretty underrated, at least by myself. Like, I don't know. My issue with Carson is he looks at his gun so much in game, it's so detrimental. Like, he just needs to put a piece of cardboard over his screen and he'd play twice as good. Because he's looking down too much. But when he's not looking down, he's doing great. So I think I don't know, he only got 1 Heavy game. Maybe would have been a little more lucky if he got a couple more in there. Autumn also pulling 9 3-hit games, I think, is rough for them. Like, by her own admission, she doesn't run very much. And this game, you have to run on Heavy at the very start of the game to get upstairs. They're starting off from a setback. So I think that was a little rough. And then 1 ammo and no medic games is crazy. That's maybe the most crazy pull of the whole tournament. Like, for 2 out of the 6 positions, she pulls them once in, 20 games?
Mm-hmm. That is crazy. That's
wild.
I should have highlighted the 6 Heavy games. Like, she was heavy a lot for them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean, Babe pulled 6 as well, so it looks like their heavy distribution on this team was heavily weighted towards those 2 players.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Overall, yeah, I think the team was playing pretty middle. Like, when I'm watching them in the game, they don't seem to be playing much teamwork-wise off each other. It was a lot of flexing individual skill here and there. Like, Autumn's reaction speed, Bean has a lot of experience and runs around a lot inside the game. John, same thing, very fast. But I don't think they were... what do you say, like synergistic in game. I don't know if that was due to just not putting a lot of effort towards the comms and stuff, or just the players not just being more solo players. I don't know why, but just watching them, they didn't seem to work super well together. It was just everyone kind of individually performing. So I think that was kind of their downside, and maybe lost them a couple games here or there.
I could see that. I could see that. I definitely was like hearing the call outs in game, but I didn't always see the team working synergistically. I could agree with that. I do think Autumn was providing a lot of communication, being scout half the time. You could always hear her. And Vulcan was almost always medic. Just which I know he hated, but
that's an unlucky pull too.
Unlucky
meta
because
games.
he doesn't like that role, but I thought he did well, and yeah. So like there were a few advantageous ones here. Like I think the Babe Heavy was definitely one of their win conditions when they pulled that. He and John do work really well together. I always saw those two syncing up in games. Like if
Yeah,
they couldn't
I
get
would
the whole
agree.
team to synergize, like the Babe and Simply Okay were definitely synergizing. Whenever they got Carson Commander, I'm gonna go look up his win rate because I feel like if you get Carson Commander in Group 6, he's gonna just win. He's gonna win against no matter who he's playing against. Because that's one of his strongest positions. Uh, Carson is still learning all the ins and outs of the game, but one thing he can do is he can roll over the people in front of him.
Hmm.
He won 4 out of 5 of his Commander games,
Yeah.
so definitely an advantage for them. Um, and John, I think he probably wishes he could have been more 3-hit, but he was definitely in a similar spot to Caleb, trying to give a lot of commands from the back line and synergize together. Um, yeah, I don't know. I some feedback for Beans. I feel like he tends to play a little solo. Like I would see him kind of doing what he thought was best in his role. Definitely racking up lots of points. I think he's I think he's still learning like strictly how the meta plays in our arena because I think he could have been a little quicker on some transitions to like different phases of the game. And I do think when Brahmatize was there, having him pull like all those offensive roles was really helpful
Oh,
for the team on that day.
it was nasty. He did so good. He's really
Mm-hmm.
killing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, to expand on the synergy thing a little bit more, I think it was we talked about earlier, like the skill of giving communication is different than the skill of listening to communication. I think this team had the comms. They were definitely talking in game. They're not playing silently.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think they're playing off of each other. Someone's saying something and the team is ignoring it, or they're doing something else that they think is better. And um, you can be doing something good individually, but if you're not listening to the team around you, that play could now be a bad play, even if you individually are improving or like doing better in the game. I think that was the struggle of the synergies. They weren't listening to each other or playing off of each other in the game. Um, Vulcan on Medic is, I think he was really frustrated by that too because he pulled it 7 back to back or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of these players would have had more preference towards the 3-hit, like you said, Simply Okay and Vulcan pulling 3 and 4 respectively.
Yeah,
Sucks.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the bad rolls right there because like Vulcan was put at the top of Group 5 basically because like if he pulled Commander against people in that group, I feel like Vulcan would have been at an advantage.
Yeah. He got
Maybe
one.
on Heavy too, but he just didn't get to play it, so
Yeah.
that's unfortunate. Just part of the bad luck.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna keep moving on because there's still good conversation to be had after we get through these last two teams.
For sure.
The house, Azra, Turbaki, Cody, Shadow Dagger, Rockwood, and I'm including Selly B as part of this team because of how many games she subbed for them. I'm looking at 13 games for them. So most of the time, she was part of this team.
Yeah, for sure. I made the mistake after the tournament when I was talking to players of counting Sally B on this team over her actual team. Yeah, she was on this team constantly. I talked about it a lot earlier. I think they had a lot of communication struggles early. Like the communication style wasn't matching. I think they probably had a conversation about that midweek because I did see that improve and change near the end of the week how they talked to each other in game. Because it was just a lot of yelling at each other. It not like calling each other names or anything, just like loud calling demands at another person, and everyone was doing it, and so everyone was just like clashing constantly, and I think it caused a lot of inner team frustration, and it wasn't getting resolved in game. And I think at some point it got resolved out of the game because they did fix that near the end of the week, I think, or the end of the day 2 or day 3. I think a lot of these players individually underperformed. I would expect better from most of the people on this team. Actually, I think every player on this team performed less. They performed underneath what I think individually as a player they should be performing at. or what I've seen them in the past performing at. Any number of factors can play into that. Sometimes you just have a bad tournament, and I think it just hit all these people at the wrong time. Because I don't think the draws screwed them too much here. Like, I like Azra as a reset player. She pulled a bunch of resub. Josiah is a great scout, and he got some 3 games in there too. Cody, same thing. Shadow getting a lot of commander does suck.
I was going to disagree with you because I half of games having him on 3-hit when he was in group 5, I think was pretty difficult for them to overcome.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. I think I obviously have a bias towards Shadow because he's a home site player, but I don't think they were playing around that because he's unfamiliar with the arena. He doesn't know how to play it, and he wasn't listening to his team when they're telling him how to play the arena. So I think that's on him. That's him making a mistake. But because Shadow has such a distinct play style, I think you have to adapt your game around that. And the players that have experience here, which is the whole team actually, should play around a player that is inexperienced with the arena to make them fit the team, especially when you're in a carry role. He does need to push in more. He's not doing that well, but you can, like, actually Dylan is the epitome of this play style, right? He doesn't push in very much on commander. And he does really well by farming points. That's how Shadow plays the game, and I think he was trying to force himself, or people were forcing whatever, into a different style than what he's used to, and I think that was a big detriment to them. So, I mean, he did underperform, and there was a number of mistakes he made, but I don't think it's all on him because of how the team played around it. Pulling 10 3-hits is a lot, though. That's half the games as 3-hit for a player that's never played here before. That's rough, for sure.
Yeah, forgive me if it sounded like I'm putting it all on him. I think, like, I think it's hard for me to even speak because, like, I like these players as people, and I also don't think it's, like, fair to, like, air stuff that, like, isn't mine to say. But, like, there was out of game stuff where, like, people were getting really demoralized and not wanting to put in the full effort, or, like, not wanting to even play. Like, they gave up their final game. They didn't even want to try to play. To come out to a tournament and play SM5, like, if you don't even want to try to play a game at the end of it all, it's like, I think they were trying. I think they could have done things differently and better to get people to synergize and work together and also keep spirits up, keep friendship up. But at the end of the day, like, I think it was just difficult to be trying to give feedback to each other and to not have it be reciprocated in either direction. I think there was some stubbornness and maybe some, like, apathy, honestly, that took over this team.
Yeah, I will say that I saw them outside of game having team meetings, so they were putting in the effort to improve on a lot of the in-game issues and stuff like that. And I'm not sure what you're referring to with the outside game issues, so maybe there's stuff I'm unaware of. But I do think they were trying. I just don't think it worked in all cases. So I wouldn't fault the players too much for this. I think maybe ragging on it a bit too hard. But, like, I don't know. These are some of my favorite people in the Laserforce community. I love hanging out with all of this team. Like, I've played on a team with a good amount of these players. So I like all these players, and I think that it's not necessarily all on them for having a environment that wasn't the best. It just didn't work out this one.
Okay. I like them all too. I think there's a reason that they couldn't really beat any team but my team, though. Like, it just wasn't really close for most of them. Yeah, there were things that needed to be improved on for sure.
For sure.
But like I said, like, if we flipped any of these players onto a different team, where, like, we talked about how great, like, these first 3 teams seem to have gotten on and worked together. Like, if we put any of them in those environments, I think it could have changed everything for those players.
100%.
Reiterating, like, y'all are good players, and we it's hard to ride that balance here where, like, sorry, I feel a little awkward, like, shit, did I take a step too far in, like, criticizing these players? When I like them all as friends, and, like, they're people I admire and respect, and, like, I would have been happy to play on a team with any of them. I'm also trying to come from, like, the sports analyst perspective, where I'm like, so what went wrong? You
talking about a mentality I have towards the game, I think you can group a lot of players into one of two uh, uh, styles in like they're a leader or they're a follower. Like someone that has a really strong opinion of the game, they're going to play the game around themselves and they want people to adapt around them. And then a follower player is someone that like is like the glue. They can fill in and find out where they need to be. I think this team has a lot of leaders. There's a lot of skilled players on an individual level that have they want to play the game in a certain way, and because of that, there wasn't enough like follower players to make it meld as well. And in just looking at the rosters of the other teams, I think there's a pretty good balance on most teams of like the players that will like here the example is Caleb, right? Like the leader player, he's gonna play the game and play around him. And Evo Mike is a follower player. He's like, all right, cool. That's how you want to play the game. I will listen to you and I will do that. Even if I don't agree with it, I'm doing it. I think this team didn't
Like
have enough.
every player on Turkey So Easy was like, Odin's Fist is one of the best in the world, and they were humble enough to listen to Slaughtermelon, and
Yeah.
Slaughtermelon was humble enough to listen to Odin when Odin was making callouts. Like, there was a lot of back and forth going on, and like your team had a pretty strong leadership. That's kind of like one of those organizational charts. You could draw it out pretty clearly.
Yeah.
Maybe this team lacked that, or struggled with that.
100%.
You want to move on?
Yep. No more thoughts.
Okay. Dorcas Rising, how about you give your thoughts before I speak?
Bro, I think Bradley's incredible. Oh my god, playing against this guy, I think the one thing he doesn't do super well is communication. Other than that, he has a stellar game, and I think he's going to be one of the top players in the game if he keeps playing at the level that he does. Because oh my god, he's so good and he's so hard to play against. So I think him drawing 5 commander games was great for this team. So I'm surprised those didn't result in a little bit more wins. Outside of this, you not pulling 3-hit games when I think that's your strongest 2 positions in this arena, and pulling 11 scout games is kind of crazy. Is that the highest scout pull we've seen so far? Has anyone pulled more than 11? You pulled the most scout in the tournament?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. And no ammo is wild as well. Yeah, I just, when thinking back on this team, I was like, man, I can see a lot of these players doing super well in the games. I'm surprised it just didn't result in more wins. I think, like we were talking about earlier, it just, every game has a story, a little happenstance here or there. I think Elderberry, I don't know enough about the player, their experience and stuff like that. They were really struggling to, I think they were doing maybe too much of the following. They weren't making a lot of their own individual decisions. They're just like, okay, what do you want me to do? And when you're doing that too much in the game, it leads to a lot of inaction when someone is unable to give you the command because they're too focused on something else. So I do wish they had a little bit more oomph in their game of decision making, because they did have 9 heavy commander games, which you have to be really putting pressure in the game to be doing that. And obviously, I think they got missile beta as well. So it's just, I think they were struggling to make decisions, which was actively detrimental to this team for sure. Pulling only 1 medic game is rough. Yeah, you want to go? It's your team. I'm sure you have a lot to say.
Yeah, I loved this team. I think this was like, respectfully to all the Loveland teams I've played on, like this was the most wholesome and not hardest working. This was like the most healthy team environment I've ever played in. All 6 of us like showed up. We met up and I'm like, all right guys, this is our team. What do you guys want? Do you want to like just have fun? Do you want to try to win? And they're all like, we want to try to win. I'm like, okay. We kind of claim that back table, and every single game right after like we were done reffing, like my players would all just congregate back there and listen and talk. Like we were trying really, really hard. The reasons that we didn't do as well were, I think, like, I think one, I made some leadership failures by trying to do too much as an individual. like not sticking to the basics and also making my team like do some weird tactics to try to pull off wins in disadvantageous situations on the first day. Like we pulled an elderberry heavy, and elderberry Derek, he's a really great guy. I really like him, and like I enjoyed playing with him. Don't hear what I'm not saying. He doesn't come that often. He's Cora's dad, and he also had like stuff where he couldn't attend tag for the previous month. So like, even though I think he has the ability to gain a lot of skill in this game, he had not been put in the practice, and the difference, in my opinion, between like him and the next player down in his group was reasonably large.
Yeah.
So like he pulled heavy, and like it was my commander game, and I'm like, all right, you guys fill Derek up downstairs. I'm gonna go try to take over third by myself. Like we gotta try to pull off wins, and that was not the right mentality. I said, like coming into the second day, like, okay, I'm sorry, we need to build a team structure, and we need to grow our players every game. We're gonna play for finals. Like we're gonna probably lose round play, but we're gonna build up a structure where we can peak for finals and try to get elims. And then finals didn't happen, so that kind of sucked. But so we weren't trying to swing for the fences. We were trying to build a team synergy that anybody could play any position. And you know what? Sometimes, yeah, like kind of what you were saying with the last team, like we it was on us to like learn how to work around if we had a disadvantageous poll. But on the whole, like we had some really close games, and we did win some games. But I think we just took the longest to get to like a stable point where we would be I don't know, at full power, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was a good learning opportunity for all of us.
Maybe that's why I said earlier that I think you guys didn't improve so much throughout the week. Maybe it was not that, but more so there wasn't like massive leaps in improvement. I feel like maybe it was more of like a steady consistency of like, all right, we're getting used to this, making some decisions. Where like other teams, I'm like, oh, you fixed that issue that I thought was an issue kind of thing. Also, I don't think I observed too many of your guys' games, so I may just be misinformed here.
We had a great time. Everyone on our team was like, dude, can we take this team to a Nats? Like, it was such a good, positive, wholesome energy. We don't really care that we got the 8 points. Like, we're really proud of ourselves. We know that if there were elims and we got the right polls, we could have absolutely won the tournament. We feel that way.
That was something really cool. Just step back about this format is there was no team that was like, yeah, they're not winning any games. They're getting wrecked. I know we talked about this briefly earlier, but it's like if you get the right polls, like you said, you're winning the game for sure. Or just like everyone was close enough. Everyone was within the same bubble that they could beat each other, and it shows. There was no 0-point team and there was no undefeated team. Like I thought that was super cool about the format of this tournament.
100%. Yeah. At least in concept, that was what was supposed to happen.
Yeah. Works out.
Okay. We're coming up close on time. I just was gonna go into like ideas for future tournaments, but like, do you want to talk about that? What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think that's great. I have some ideas.
Why don't you start?
For sure.
So this would just be if we were to do this again, what would you do differently?
Two things that I'm stealing from my other Chula players, so the Shadow Dagger and Ender. When I talked to them, Ender's idea, and this is something we did sometimes in this tournament. It was just not a rule, so it was inconsistent. Is he wants to go play ref, and then after the ref, immediately draw your cards for the next game. So then you have the duration of the next game to talk with your team about, hey, this is how we're going to play this game based on our pulls. Sometimes we were doing that, pulling immediately. Sometimes we were pulling it literally as we have our packs on, we're walking into the game. So I think just improving consistency on that, because it, at least for my team, it was a big difference of like, hey, if we're pulling it, we're figuring it out in the game, or we have 10 minutes to sit there and talk about how we're going to play this game out based off our role pulls. And I think pulling after the game, maybe there's an argument there that it detracts from the random draw element of adding chaos, because if you have 10 minutes to plan versus 0 minutes to plan, either way, whether we decide to do it one way or the other, I think it should be a consistent thing when the pulls are happening. And then the idea from Shadow Dagger was not, you can't pull the same roll as the last game. And I think this is going to create some logistics issues in terms of like how do you pull the cards to make this not happen. But it'll prevent Vulcan from getting 7 medic games in a row or stuff like that happening, which I think is a bit, some of the players get a little disappointed when that happens. So I think it almost increases the randomness aspect because you're going to be playing more different positions and your team will be scrambled more. But it is yet another rule that we have to follow in an environment that is intended to create chaos. I liked both of those rules. I think drawing right after the game, but not getting the same roll as the last game, I think both will increase my fun for a tournament like that, or like this.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind either of those rules at all. I think people like getting to plan. Like, maybe it's not so much that people want chaotic games where you get thrown in with no context of what's going on, but we want opportunities for lots of players to play different things.
Yeah.
Maybe that's more the point. And give the team 10 minutes to talk about it. Yeah, absolutely. Like 10 minutes to build a plan. Like that's not much time. And you don't get to keep building on that because you have new positions next time. So and yeah, that the rule where we wouldn't do the same positions twice in a row, I don't see many downsides to it. It seems like something you just you need to have the other team there when you're pulling positions, because you might get a plan going and then they're like, oh, but I had that last game. If we're at a new block, I could see that becoming logistically difficult. You could do something really crazy where we like pull all the positions start of the day and then assign them to each game, and then we like know what we're going into every game. That probably takes away some of the fun.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that'd be kind of crazy.
But yeah, I guess it's like, what do you want to prioritize?
And then for me, like personally, I don't know if this was just a fault of how the scheduling worked, but I like playoffs. I like finals, and it feels like you have something to play for and an area that you can show, hey, this is what we improved on throughout the week. I think in a random draw format with random teams being generated, the not having playoffs means every game is weighted the same, and early on, the games are going to be so random because random's a poor word there, but like you won't have synergy with your team at all yet unless you played with these people in previous tournaments. And so weighting those games as much as the final games on day 3, that felt a little bad to me. I wish we had a playoffs. I wish we had a finals. I think most people would agree with that. It's just due to formatting we couldn't. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Obviously, like we were planning to build a team that would be ready for whatever positions by day 3. So had we known that we were just playing for the points only, we would have probably done some of those wider swing strategies or played things a little differently throughout the week. It's just intention, and it was no one intended for this to happen. It was just we ran out of time, unfortunately.
It happens.
Yeah.
What'd you have done differently? You built half this tournament.
What I've done differently. I gave a bunch of feedback in the previous videos I did about like how I would adjust trying to get the rankings accurate. So I'm not going to repeat that. But here's a few ideas. I'm not necessarily saying I want all these, but I do kind of have them ranked in order from like ideas I like the most to ideas I'm like more just throw it out there on. So one idea here is instead of matching group 1 and 6 and 2 and 5, 3, 4, match group 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the reason for this is kind of what we talked about earlier. The top groups, we have more consistency in ranking, and we can make these a little more stable. The big variance seems to happen in like 5 and 6. And like if you're a team that gets the highest end of 5 and 6, low end of 1 and 2, that seems preferable to getting the high end of 1 and 2 and the low end of 5 and 6. Because I think the difference between like, for example here, the difference between Caleb and DK is smaller than the difference between Elderberry and Ebo Mike.
Yeah.
Like there's more variance at the bottom groups than at the top groups. So you should match 5 and 6 so that like getting, in this example, Old Man Than and Elderberry, Selly B and Ebo Mike, that's trying to balance that out a little better.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't. So the difference between Caleb and Slaughtermelon and Fireball, DK versus Elder and Evo Mike may be just a result of the players attending this tournament. Like if we had 5 super good players attending, and then the next person down is a significant step down, and then there's 6 brand new players attending the tournament. Like, I don't know if necessarily I would think that Group 6 always has a higher variability than the highest groups. I think it really depends on just who's attending. I think I would agree with you. In most cases, this is better, though, because it's probably a higher likelihood that you have a lot of good players attending tournaments just because those are players that attend a lot of tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this makes sense to me, but maybe it just should be decided depending on the actual like attendance kind of thing.
Sure. See the pool. I can see that.
Let's see. The other thing that we were running into, right, is like the 6th player of group. Well, previously it was Group 3 and Group 4. Like the highest of Group 4 and the bottom of Group 3 are pretty interchangeable. So that's kind of solving that issue where a lot of times, like here, if Group 1 and Group 2 are pretty closely related and you're matching them now, it fixes a lot of those like pairing large skill gap differences that we had previously. So I think I like this. I don't really see a big downside to this.
That's what the teams would look like. Someone can screen cap that. We're not going to dawdle on it. Okay, one idea would be, this is like almost a new tournament format, but combine random draw with duos or triple threat. So essentially, instead of placing individual players in a spot where they draw their positions, you have a duo pull a position, and they will be matched against a duo of their same rank. And here's an example of what that might look like. One advantage that I think some people would like and some people would not like is that rather than being with one team all week, you would be changing your teams frequently all week. But the position matching and the random draw element would still be there. Does this make sense?
So, okay, one clarifying question. When you say changing your team all week, you'd keep the same 6 players, right? You would just be drawing the positions differently?
No, it would be like the duos tournament we had, or the triple threat,
Okay.
I think, in Auckland, where
Okay.
like every game you would have 2 new duos that you'd be playing with, just like the duos tournament. But in this one, like, we would have 2 pairs in Group 1 going up against each other. Fear Turkey and Sparks would draw a card, and maybe they pull the resupply card, so they will play resupply against the Group 1 match on the other side. DK and Odin's Fist would play resupply. Maybe the Babe and Ender pull 3 hits, so they will choose their 3 hits between the 2 of them, playing against the Rook and Metal Face, and then these 2 pull Scout, and they play Scout against each other.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a whole new tournament format, combining the best of both worlds.
I think this is pretty cool. Logistically, it's a mess in my head, so I'd need a smart person to figure that out. But I feel like this would be super sick. I'm always a huge fan of duos and triples, especially duos. Like because of the resupply element of the game, where medic and ammo are together, and then in my opinion, commander and scout and heavy and scout are paired together as well. Like I think it's really cool to build synergy with a second player there.
Mm-hmm.
In regardless of what role you are in the game, because you guys will be a matched role. You could really start to get some creative synergy between players. So I love the idea of duos and trios tournaments, and then introducing the random draw feature of it. It's just like a little fun feature, like to make the game a little more chaotic. So I think I would play this format and really enjoy it. Just logistics wise, I feel like that'd be really hard to create.
I can tell you it would not be hard. It would be pretty easy to
Cool.
fill in the teams. And one feature of this that maybe someone suggested about random draw and the tiers is like, what if there were re-tierings or some way to like readjust the rankings after we've had a day of playing? Duos has that built in, where like every day, if you've played really well, you're moving up, and if you've played poorly, you're moving down. And so if we do get surprised, we don't have to deal with that being a misranking for the whole tournament. They move up.
Yeah, I think that's cool. It's gonna be really variable then on people that are inexperienced with the arena, like kind of the same practice night issue that we had. But
Sure.
I like that idea of the
Oh,
reseeding. Like as you grow in skill, you maybe get bumped into the next tier. It's kind of harder to reseed, I think, with two players because if like Odin's Fist is really outperforming what we put him, but DK is
but
staying the
DK
same.
sucks.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so with re-ranking with two players or three players attached to each other is probably a lot more difficult to do.
Yeah, it works in
Yeah.
my head.
Yep.
I know we can
You're
make
the
it
smart
work.
man. You figured it out.
Okay, one idea was team swapping and changing. So this would be, I would call it maybe like a chaos random draw event. So every day the bottom team gets to swap one of their players with the top team. Like I'm gonna give my three for your three, and now it's the new teams. And you can extend that to like having all the bottom teams do that or something. So the top teams would not like this, but the bottom teams might like this. And coming in, if you're not going to expect to keep your team the whole week, there's going to be just like this chaotic stealing or swapping of players. It would be chaotic, but
I'm
maybe
a
that
bit
could help.
more resistant to this because I think it may feel bad for like, ah, we're the bottom team. You're the problem. We're kicking you off that island and we're gonna select this player to replace you, and therefore we're gonna do better. I think maybe I'd be a little more in favor if it was like a predetermined change. Like, all right, on the second day, all tier 1 and tier 3 players like rotate teams or something like that. So that way,
Interesting.
like the whole your team, your team's getting swapped, and maybe you don't know who you're getting next. Or maybe you do. I don't know, but I don't think the kicking off and the selection system would be seen favorably by the players that are underperforming and getting kicked off.
Oh, Nolan, you're so nice to people. Yeah, that's a good point.
Luke,
If
after
you,
day one, who would you have kicked from your team?
oh my goodness. So yeah, I think that does solve the problem. Like if it's predetermined ahead of time, that probably would be the way to do it. Like if it were ahead of time, like not that I want Metal Face off my team, but if it were like the number fours will swap between 1 and 4, then basically Metal Face would have been moved to Caleb's team and we would have gotten Lizzie Lizard, and that would have been how it would perform, how it would have played out in that situation. But yes,
You just
me
wanted a
not
6-man
choosing it,
leveling roster.
but having it, oh yeah, absolutely. That's probably how it would have to be done.
Yeah.
And then somebody suggested like we just re-rank entirely every day and everyone gets shifted around as necessary. Like it's so opinion based and biased. I don't know how I feel about that, but I figure it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, I'm also resistant to that. I feel like not only would that be a lot of like back and forth opinion based discussions, but it would have to really heavily favor that individual day's gameplay, which as we talked about previously is like variable depending on what teams you played that day, what positions you pulled that day. There's so little sample size that you get in a day. Re-ranking fully everyone every day, I think is unrealistic and probably will introduce more error than and more accuracy.
Quite possibly. So create barriers to bad draws, quote unquote. So some of the I think I just gotta own that maybe I sound a little bit like a jerk when I say like some of the bottom, like those bottom two teams, like the house and my team, some of the reasons we placed there may have been because of some quote unquote unfavorable draws, having some disadvantages. So creating barriers to this may be a way to make it more even for teams, like allowing captains to have 3 redraws per event, or like that rule that you mentioned, no playing the same position back to back, may be able to break strings of either good or bad luck with certain teams. However, this I admittedly would remove some of the fun and opportunity for newer players because I imagine most often it would be, oh, one of our newer players is on a really important role. Let's not have that draw go through.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit resistant to the redraw idea because I think like it kind of like I'm gonna relate this to League of Legends. Like you get a really cool team, everyone's locked in, you're ready, and then someone Q dodges, and you're like, all right, well now you have to redo this whole thing. Like I think it'd be the same thing. Where like, all right, cool, yes, I finally pulled Commander. I'm so excited to play Commander from Vulcan, and then your team is like, actually, we don't want our tier 6 player on commander. We're gonna redraw this one. Vulcan's like, God, come on, I really wanted to play it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably too big of a negative to have redraws. But I think that the what you labeled here, the implement rule of no playing the same position back to back, I think that solves that issue of people getting really frustrated by playing the same thing over and over, and it's just going to create more variability, which is the intention of the tournament format. So I think that works. I think the only time a redraw should be allowed is maybe if both teams like fully agree to it. But that's probably like, hey, this person's really exhausted. They don't want to play a commander game. Are we okay with redrawing this? Or like some extra reason rather than just like having a built-in one.
For sure. Almost done here. Okay, some ideas I got were gamifying the random positions. So Beans had an idea that we add a Joker card as a 7th card, and it allows you to swap positions with somebody else after all the positions have been revealed. Player named Skills from Detroit had an idea of double-sided chips where you pick one of the 2 positions when you draw it, and I suppose the earlier players get more options to choose than the later players who draw. My problem that I see, though, if we're doing position matching, any gamification can be used to exploit bad lineups as well as fix bad lineups. So there could easily be a situation where, yeah, like the heart of this would be, hey, we want to give our team more favorable lineups, but you could also be like, I could also screw that team by making my lineup a certain way. So it kind of works both ways, and I think that could be a problem. But if we're not position matching, this could be a little more ideal.
Yeah, I think if you weren't position matching, this actually helps because people don't like super big blowout games. If it is positioning matching, like, I don't know, if I was using it myself, I hate playing heavy in this arena. I don't think I'm good at it, especially compared to the other players in my tier. I would use the Joker or the double-sided chip to actively avoid heavy and just not play it every single time. I think that was a complaint of duos, I want to say, where you can like your duo can pick one of the 2 positions, and so someone would just not play, like that they would just decide which ones they're better at and stick to that the entire time, and so that it kind of reduced the intention of everyone playing every position. I think that's what this would do is make people avoid the things that they are worst at. So I mean, maybe you can argue that's more fun because they're not playing the bad things, but I don't know. It would also be like some additional conflict. I kind of like the idea of adding like a gamification to it. If we are doing like not matching, just full random draw, this intention is to create chaos. It gives a little bit of a werewolf idea where you're like, all right, what card did I get? I got the villager, or I got the village idiot, whatever it is. It's like, ooh, I got the heavy this game, and I got the Joker, and I got the troll, and like each can do different things, and you like mess with each other. And it's like a really like crazy game. I think that'd be really fun if you add in like a bunch of different quote unquote abilities. But that would have to be like a truly chaotic tournament to implement that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's the end of my PowerPoint.
I got one more. You just triggered a memory for me. I think right after the tournament, I was talking with Ender, and he had just an idea in the car where he's like, well, what if we did we drafted the opponent's team's positions, and you're allowed bans. So like, if I'll use the example of our teams in this tournament, right? I'm gonna ban myself from playing heavy, and then you guys get a ban on your team. So you get 3 self-team bans of, okay, I don't want this person to play that position for this game. And then after the bans are done, then you draft the opponent's teams. It's like, all right, cool. Luke didn't ban himself from playing Scout. I'm going to put Luke on Scout this game. And that means our DK is placed on Scout or something like that. So each team does like a little bit of drafting of each other's positions to like make the other team obviously as worse as possible. But you're also building your own team at the same time. But there's a couple things that are banned, so that way you don't get like, all right, we're going to put Vulcan on medic every single game kind of thing. What do you think about that?
Well, just got to go way in the archives from like 8 years ago. We did this in one of our seasons.
Oh.
So like way back here with like 13-year-old Caleb, we banned him on Commander and Scout, and his team got to pick. And over here they banned me on Heavy and Zenless on Commander, and so we got to pick. Like that would be really cool. It reminds me a little bit more of like the point buy one from 2021, right?
So how did this work out in this tournament? Were people pretty happy with it, or was it have issues?
It's an interesting idea. Just like, gosh, this is old and cringe, but yeah, it worked out. You had to kind of have multiple lineups in your pocket. Like, we kind of assumed I would be playing a lot of ammo for this team, so that we weren't reliant on me getting 3 hits. We got to train up. This is old Brahmatized and Loki. We trained them up on 3 hit, and that worked. And like Caleb, we were like, no offense for you, so he went heavy. He had to learn heavy. I don't know.
That's cool. Yeah, wow. These are old faces here.
For sure. That's fun to bring up.
Yeah,
No,
for sure.
I think it's a good idea by Ender. We definitely didn't perfect it or stick with it or anything.
Yeah, might be worth fleshing out. So I host the event in LA at Lost Worlds like every other month kind of thing, and we were talking about with this tournament format from this Loveland Random Draw was so enjoyed that we're like, all right, let's see if we can emulate it at Lost Worlds. And it's just a members night, like there's no really traveling players attending it, but just
Sure,
trying to
yeah.
do like some sort of just to get a, because we have maybe like 12 like played 3 total times players there, like a lot of brand new players. So to get them experienced in other roles without like absolutely getting them blasted, this we thought was a pretty good format to like spread the wealth. So I think in the next Lost Worlds event in April, we're gonna try to emulate this most recent format because we liked it so much.
Nice.
Well done.
I really want to see how that goes. Like, let me know.
We'll see.
Cool. Well, you helped, and a lot of people helped, so thanks to everyone who helped. But yeah,
man,
this was a good discussion. Any final stuff you want to talk about before we wrap up? I know we're going a little long.
No, I think we covered most of the tournament stuff. I think this should be iterated on. I think people really enjoyed it, and like you said, like minor improvements here and there, minor changes, but like overall, I hope to see this format return in the future. I think it'll attract a lot of players. A lot of people watching it enjoyed it. I think we had some stream issues, but like at least from people I'm talking to here that did watch it, they're like, oh, this looked really fun to play, and I'd like to go to one of these, which is always the intention, to draw more players to travel to tournaments. So we should definitely try this again sometime in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. On one hand, like, gosh, we're coming here and we're analyzing this, and I always feel a little self-conscious when we're like analyzing teams and players, and like I want everyone to feel like they have a good shot at winning these games. I think that's kind of the heart of the random draw.
Yeah.
This time was like, we want a tournament where teams and matchups feel even and everybody gets chances to play all the roles in general. Like, that's the beauty of it. And if we accomplished that, then it was a successful tournament. I still think there was ways we could improve on it. And so I think partially why I'm being a little harsh in some situations, or if I'm casting blame, it's like it comes from wanting to try to avoid situations in the future where people don't feel that, or like they don't feel like it's fair, or they don't like playing with their team, or they're like, even my team like ending up where they did. I'm like, maybe there was a way that we could have made things a little between like the luck of the draw, like I'm stammering, dude. Like, how do we, because these are all values-based things. Like, some people, we can go too far and lose the randomness. The randomness is a beautiful thing in it. It's part of the game. If we want it to be like perfectly even every single game, then we just need to make a tournament where we're just like strictly building lineups for every single game, and we're like, okay, every position is perfectly matched. And no one's asking for that. The random draw is fun. The randomness is fun. And some people are just going to get a little more lucky than others. But on the whole, like, for how accurate we were with the rankings and how close the teams were, like, my team felt like we could beat anybody. It was successful in that regard. I would agree.
Yep. Well done to you and Joe and Josiah and anyone else that put in effort to build the format and get the tournament to run. So keep it up.
Yep. Cool. Any final thoughts, Sweets?
Yeah, man. That's it. This is a good time. I always love coming on the podcast and talking to you.
Thank you, everyone who attended the tournament. Thank you, everyone who has given feedback. And I really hope that all these podcasts and the tournament can help make future random draws even more enjoyable. Thank you all, and thank you, Sweets, for coming on.
See you guys.
Thank you for listening to Force Pro Sports. Subscribe to the channel and get cool perks by supporting our Patreon. Play Laserforce and become part of this era's next great sport.